During the fall of 2020, I thought it would be fun to work at a local haunted attraction. My friend Rachel was already working there and told me they needed more actors. She pulled some strings and got me an interview. The owner hired me on the spot. The haunted attraction was huge, 3 haunted houses and a sprawling, twisted corn maze. My first day started with a quick rehearsal. I had to demonstrate my acting skills for one of the supervisors, a tall, serious man named Vincent. My role for the night? A damsel in distress, a girl tied to a wooden post, screaming for help as visitors passed by. Of course, the guests were told not to touch any of the actors, so no one would actually try to untie me. Right before opening, Vincent walked me deep into the corn maze to my spot. My post, quite literally. To my surprise, I wasn't just pretending to be tied up. They actually bound my wrists with thick, coarse rope. I laughed nervously and asked, "What if I need to use the bathroom?" "There will be short breaks between sessions," Vincent said in a low, even tone. "And don't worry, there will be another supervisor nearby in case you need help." That made me feel a little better, just a little. Once Vincent left, I was completely alone. The maze was dark, lit only by flickering lanterns hidden along the paths. Speakers hidden in the corn played eerie whispers, distant screams, and the sound of something moving just out of sight. The wind rustled through the dry stalks, making them shudder like they were alive. Then, in the distance, an air horn blasted. Showtime. I took a deep breath and got into character. The first group of guests would be coming soon. I just had to wait. And that's when I started to hear footsteps. But they weren't coming from the main path. They were coming from inside the corn. I was tied to that post in the middle of the corn maze, screaming for help and playing my part as the helpless damsel in distress. It wasn't until the first group of guests walked by that I finally started to feel the rush. I screamed, I cried, I begged them to save me from the creepy villain who was coming back soon. It was like any other haunted attraction, except for the gnawing feeling in the back of my mind that something wasn't right. I tried to focus on the guests, but the unease kept creeping in. Everyone was wearing masks because of the pandemic, so I couldn't see their full faces. Most of the people just smiled nervously and walked by, but then 2 men, maybe in their 30s, passed me. They stared at me. Not a friendly glance, not even a quick look. It was a stare, the kind that makes you feel like you're being watched by something that isn't human. One of them slowed down and gave me this wild-eyed look that made my skin crawl. They didn't say a word, they just kept walking, and then they disappeared into the maze. Minutes passed and the guests grew sparse. I began to realize how long the pauses between groups were. It was so quiet, too quiet. Sometimes I could hear rustling nearby, like someone walking through the corn, but guests weren't supposed to be off the path. I was starting to feel like I was the only one there. Then I heard it again. Those footsteps, closer this time. I turned around quickly, and there they were. The same 2 men emerging from the crops like something out of a horror movie. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a pretty strong sense when something is wrong, and everything about this felt wrong. I broke character. "Hey, you can't stray off the path." One of them gave a soft laugh behind his mask. It wasn't friendly, it was low and sinister. And then they started speaking in some language I didn't understand. Something harsh, something foreign. It sounded like Italian, but I wasn't sure. The man on the left, the one who had stared at me earlier, walked off to the maze path, but not in the right direction. He just stood there, staring at me, his eyes wide like he was waiting for something. The other man, though, he walked straight toward me, and that's when I realized what was happening. He was touching me, and not in the fun, spooky, haunted house way. I screamed, loud, like my life depended on it. "This isn't part of the act. Someone help!" I shouted everything I could think of. "I'm being attacked." Just as panic hit its peak, Vincent, one of the supervisors, appeared out of nowhere. He must have been lurking nearby, and he saw what was happening. The two men froze, and then they ran. Like wild animals, they bolted into the maze, disappearing into the darkness. I was untied immediately, trembling, my heart racing. Vincent told me to take a minute to calm down, but I was too shaken to do anything but call my parents. I told them everything that had happened, and they insisted I leave the place immediately. I rushed out of the maze, and the supervisors tried to reassure me. They said they'd still pay me for the night, even though I was done. They told me to keep them in the loop if I decided I didn't want to come back. But there was no way in hell I was going back. I thought it was over. But as I drove home, I felt something wasn't right. About halfway there, I glanced in my rearview mirror. And there it was, a white car tailing me. Not too close, but close enough. My stomach dropped. I tried to stay calm and made a couple of random turns, hoping to shake it off. But no matter what I did, the white car stayed behind. Panic hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew they were following me. I quickly searched police station on Google Maps and drove toward the nearest one, praying the car wouldn't stay with me. Every time I turned, the white car turned too. I felt like I was in some kind of twisted chase scene. Finally, I pulled into the police station parking lot. The white car didn't follow me in. Instead, it just drove right past. I sat in my car, frozen, for what seemed like an eternity, just making sure they didn't circle back. I didn't dare leave until I was absolutely sure I wasn't being followed. After 10 minutes, I cautiously drove home, checking my rearview mirror every few seconds to make sure no one was behind me. I never returned to that haunted house again, and to this day I still wonder if those men were part of the attraction, or if they were something far, far worse.